Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing something very different from what I normally do. We are going to be baking thumbprint cookies. So thumbprint cookies are actually a very famous recipe and whatnot, and my family makes them every single year for Christmas, normally numerous times because they're so good, so easy, so versatile. You can make so many different kinds. So we're going to give this a try and see how it goes. And hopefully you guys will enjoy them because they don't just have to be for Christmas. You can make them anytime for any occasion with any sort of different thing. And they're a good way to use up all of your old jams and jellies and preserves. I've used many different concoctions and they've all turned out pretty good. So let's get started. I'm going to post the entire recipe down below, but you can always mix and match things around, get creative, change the amounts of different things. This is just the base one that I've always gone back to. It's never failed me this far, so it's a good staple one to start out with. The first thing you're going to want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And I usually like to line my cookie sheets with non-stick bake mats. I find that it's so much easier, the cleanup is so much easier. You just wipe down the mats and the cookies just bake evenly. They don't stick between batches. It makes cleanup so much easier, so they're definitely worth the investment. So the first thing you're going to do is grab a bowl and a sifter. I usually just like doing like this. It's a lot less stressful. If you have a hand sifter, I love using that, but I don't have one here today. So you're going to take 2.5 cups of white flour and dump it into the sifter. Get all in there, okay. Next, you're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Add it to the flour. Make sure it's all out of there. Grab a wooden spoon and just mix it together so that it sifts out the bottom. You can't really see at this angle, unfortunately, but yeah. Sift it, it combines it, it makes your flour much lighter, much easier to work with. So once your flour is sifted, it will look a wee bit lighter and thinner, just fluffier, easier to bake with. It'll make the cookies much more light and fluffy, which is good for a recipe like this. Some people like to actually sift their flour numerous times. I find that unnecessary for this type of recipe, so once is fine for me. That's it for your dry ingredients. Now put them to the side and pull out your mixer. What you're going to do is combine 3/4 cups of white sugar and just dump it in to the bowl. And you're going to cream that with 1 cup of softened butter. Make sure you're mixing on medium speed for about 2 minutes until it's all blended together and looks nice and creamy. Sometimes you need to stop it and keep mixing it just to make sure it's all off the side. Next, add in 1 large egg and 1 teaspoon of real vanilla extract, but I usually double or even triple this amount. Sometimes I've done as many as 2 tablespoons, which may seem like a lot, but the cookies themselves don't really have much of a flavor, so I really like adding the vanilla. I find that it adds a lot to the cookie so that the flavor isn't just coming from the jam center. Once you've added those 2 to the mixer, mix again with your sugar and butter mixture. Once incorporated, add your flour mixture in. So this is what my dough looks like after I've completed everything. As you can see, it looks like traditional cookie dough, but it is very moldable. And this is good because you're going to be rolling it into perfect little balls in just a second. At this point, I recommend if you were to take your dough and either roll it out into a disc or in a ball, wrap it in saran wrap and pop it in the fridge for a couple hours to really chill. But if you don't have time, then I'd say that's optional. As long as your ingredients aren't too warm, you may be able to get away with it. Otherwise, one good tip is while you're in between batches, pop the entire bowl from your dough in the fridge while everything's cooking, because then at least you're having a few minutes to try to keep things cool. Once everything's cool and you're ready to get going, you're going to take about a tablespoon of dough, roll it into a ball, and then place them on your cookie sheet. You're going to want to leave at least an inch between cookies. For right now, just pop them down as little balls. At this point, you can either use your thumb, a round end of a pestle, or I like to use a half a teaspoon measuring spoon. And you're going to take this round object and push it into the center of your cookies. Not all the way to the bottom. You want to make sure you don't break through the bottom, but just create a well right in the middle of your cookie. This is the final product. So now we're ready to move on to the fun part. What you're going to do is take a bit of jam, not a full spoonful, but just a little bit, and fill the well in your cookie with it. Make sure just to fill it to the top and not to overflow it. That's very important because if you overfill it, then as they're cooking, they will bubble and go everywhere, which is a pain to clean up. I just realized that my memory card was full when I was finishing up the strawberry jam ones and popped them in the oven. So they're just finishing up in the oven now. I made another tray of grape ones that I'm about to pop in the oven. So when you bake them, you just pop them in, bake them for 15 minutes at 350. Strawberry ones look like they're done. They won't golden up or anything like that. But as you can see, some of the gelling did still cook over, so be careful of that because any cracks are areas that the jelly can come out. So make sure you let them cool on the tray for 10 minutes or so before you move them to a cooling rack, just to make sure that they firm up and the jelly doesn't run anywhere or anything like that. But they are so yummy, so easy, so versatile. That's why they're the greatest cookies. Everyone in my family makes them. We all come up with a ton of different flavors and basically have a potluck of Thumbprint cookies. How cool is that? The kids love them. You can get the kids involved in making them. They are so great. So let me know down below what your favorite holiday treat is. Happy holidays and happy baking.